That's right. He called the demands delusional. He said that giving in to them would be a surrender to the terror group and would only set Israel up for the next massacre, which is a reference, of course, to October 7th. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reiterated, doubled down that he wants to see a total victory in the Gaza Strip. For him, that means dismantling Hamas, pushing out its leadership. And we have to remember that the deal that Hamas just put on the table, in many ways, would have preserved their position in the Gaza Strip. They talked nothing of relinquishing power or handing over power to another governing body. They essentially just wanted the Israeli forces to leave and to be able to rebuild Gaza. But of course, that would bring in lots of materials that would also allow them to rebuild. Hamas put into this proposal, this answer to the Paris framework, so many demands that were out of the box. I mean, the Israeli Prime Minister's office did not expect Hamas to come back with a deal that they would grab or take right away. But this one included so many things that were just what sources say really crossed a red line. They're trying to get changes in the policy of the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. That's the shared holy site between Jews and Arabs in Jerusalem. They're talking about lifting the siege, and the number of Palestinian prisoners to be released was very high, including those who were serving time for murder. Something like 500 they wanted released. So this was really, it appears it was meant to be a non-starter, and Israel and the prime minister are taking it as such, that Hamas is unwilling right now, it looks like, to make a real deal. And so Netanyahu dismissing it. But it's important to say he didn't close the door on negotiations. He didn't say we're calling off talks with Hamas. He just said these demands we just can't accept.
Okay, and do you get the impression, I mean, especially given the hostage dimension to this situation, do you get the impression that the majority of Israeli people agree with the course of action outlined by the Prime Minister this afternoon?
That's a good question. I think the families of the hostages don't necessarily agree with Netanyahu or the defense minister, Yoav Gallant, who continue to say that the enormous pressure of the Israeli army operation in the Gaza Strip is the best way to bring the hostages home, that it will put a kind of, pressure on Hamas to break and cut a deal. The families of the hostages believe now, most of them, that the operation may actually endanger the lives of their loved ones, because we've seen already Israel killed by accident 3 hostages, and there's some questions about the deaths of others, their bodies that were retrieved by the IDF. But outside of the families of the hostages, I think the countries, I think they're divided. Some people do believe that the military operation is the way to go. But I think that where Netanyahu has a kind of disconnect with the Israeli public is that they don't believe that getting the hostages out and freeing them is really the most important thing that the prime minister is focusing on. And I think somewhere in his messaging that has been lost. And they, and they believe Israel has a moral obligation to bring home those innocent civilians that were brutally kidnapped, some of them killed in captivity, because the state did not protect them, because the army wasn't there, because there was this huge failure. And so there's a strong part of the public here who believes, Netanyahu needs to be putting the hostages first. And if that means it's a military operation, it's a military operation. If it means negotiating with Hamas, it's negotiating with Hamas. But there seems to be still some questions about what is Netanyahu's first priority.